In the year 2000 BC, Super Mecha Death Christ 2000 prototype appears. It was destroyed by the cavemen, the Vikings, and the Egyptosaurus. Its initial appearance is still shrouded in mystery. 900 BC, the remaining pieces of the Super Mecha Death Christ 2000 prototype are found buried in the middle of Stonehenge. Mechahenge is built the next morning, but mysteriously vanishes at sunset. 565 AD, Saint Columba encounters Satan rising from the depths of Loch Ness. He calls upon the power of God, but instead is aided by Death Christ, who drives Satan back into the loch by an onslaught of lightning and fireballs. 1476 AD, Prince Vlad Dracula, haunted by a vision of Death Christ, constructs Mecha Death Christ from armor and crude weaponry of the time to do battle against the Ottoman Empire near Bucharest. A vain product of hate, it goes on a mad killing spree and ultimately beheads Dracula. Its whereabouts remain unknown for centuries. 1933 AD, the Nazis uncover the remains of Mecha Death Christ. 1942 AD, Adolf Hitler upgrades Mecha Death Christ to Super Mecha Death Christ, not to be confused with Super Mega Death Christ. The reason Hitler was searching for the Lost Ark was because he wanted to mount it on Super Mecha Death Christ so he could combine it with the powers of God, probably the most insane weapon ever conceived. 1944 AD, Super Mecha Death Christ kills Hitler and is later destroyed in battle and retrieved by the US military. 1945 AD, from the same parts, Super Mecha Death Christ version 2 is constructed with new weapons and a whole new electromechanical interface. A flight system is tested and voice synthesis is installed. However, it can only yell German obscenities. 1947 AD, Super Mecha Death Christ version 3 is given a test flight in the desert near Roswell, New Mexico. It was mistaken for a UFO. 1955 AD, Super Mecha Death Christ version 4 is completed. It malfunctions the first time it's tested. 1960 AD, Super Mecha Death Christ version 5 is completed. Laser physics are employed for the first time, which failed miserably. 1962 AD, Super Mecha Death Christ Model 2000, also known as SMDC-2K, is perfected with stealth flight. Unfortunately, control is lost and it escapes detection, flying away to an unknown location. It was never found again for 40 years. The Super Mecha Death Christ project was dropped and instead focused on what eventually became the F-177 Nighthawk stealth aircraft. 1972 AD, NASA discovers the presumed remnants of the Super Mecha Death Christ 2000 model on the lunar surface of the moon. But what they really found was the approximate 4,000-year-old scrap metal from the Super Mecha Death Christ 2000 prototype. It's brought back to Earth for testing. 1981 AD, Super Mecha Death Christ 2000 BC is created from the prototype. This version is complete with laser, grenade, missile, and machine gun cannons. The upper body is mounted on a tank for supreme combat. 1987 AD, RoboCop rips off the model of the Super Mecha Death Christ 2000 prototype. 1989 AD, Super Mecha Death Christ 2000 BC version 2.0 is created. A ray gun is equipped to its chest and the ability to blast lasers from its eyes. 1997 AD, Super Mecha Death Christ 2000 BC version 2.5 is updated to include voice synthesis. A product of extreme anger and destruction, all it can do is scream in rage. 1998 AD, Super Mecha Death Christ 2000 BC version 2.5 is abducted by Satan and reprogrammed for world domination. 1999 AD, after a reign of terror in the land of Oz, Satan unleashes his new ultimate weapon, the automated, robofied, Powertronic Cyberbot, Super Mecha Death Christ 2000 BC version 3.0 beta. Bitch. Vocabulary is increased slightly and spontaneously. Also, a new rocket launcher is added to its base, propelling it at flights of 22,000 feet in the air, at speeds of 514 miles per hour, but only distances of 2.5 miles. It goes on a rampage, killing many munchkins and celebrity guests. 2000 AD, the space-time continuum resets to zero and a time paradox occurs. The events in the land of Oz no longer exist. History is erased. 2002 AD, the remains of Super Mecha Death Christ 2000, not the BC version, is discovered on Maldives Island. 2004 AD, completion of Super Mecha Death Christ 2002 by the US military. Satan takes control once again and unleashes it upon the Earth. Out of nowhere, Super Mecha Death Christ 2000 BC version 3.1 appears and engages in robot battle. Super Mecha Death Christ 2002 is destroyed in the confrontation, and Satan is driven back to hell. 2008 AD, Satan takes possession of a Super Mario Bros. 3 Nintendo Entertainment System game cartridge, where the angry video game nerd does battle with the help of a self-upgraded Super Mecha Death Christ 2000 BC version 4.0 beta. Also, this same year, Super Mecha Death Christ made an appearance during a fight between the angry video game nerd and the nostalgia critic. After a brief intervention by Satan, Super Mecha Death Christ immediately broke in and sent Satan's sorry ass back to hell once more. Moral of the story: goodness always wins over evil, no matter how corrupted.